want to come on here, and first my initial thing that I wanted to talk about was a few Bible verses in Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 26. But I couldn't shake this urge to talk about this other thing. It's gonna be controversial, but I'm just gonna talk about it instead of put it down, because I don't know what's pushing me to talk about this, but it certainly isn't the devil, because I believe that the thing I'm talking about is directly from the devil. So I might as well talk about it. And it is about the whole trustworthiness of, or it's about Islam. That's what. And then I think I had 2 points I wanted to talk about. I might have forgotten the second one, so I'll try and remember it when talking about the first one. So the first one was the whole how trustworthy is Prophet Muhammad, because I was this close to converting to Islam, and then I realized something. God, showed me a bunch of stuff through people and through my own searchings and stuff. And yeah. So we could start by saying how trustworthy is Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, that they so greatly believe in, the Muslims. The first thing I have to get off my chest, they call him the greatest man to ever exist, but he also sinned. And they also believe that Jesus was a prophet, and that he lived a sinless life. So why isn't he the greatest man? Why isn't he perfect? Because they do believe that he was a perfect guy, but they mean that they see him as a perfect prophet. Now, that's just that, alright? But how trustworthy is Muhammad and what he says about Jesus? Now, Muhammad said he had a lot of respect for Jesus, and I have a lot of respect for him. That was my phone. He had a lot of respect for Jesus. He believed that he was born of a virgin, so he believed that miracle, and he lived a sinless life, perfect life, and he was a great example to people. And he lived his life talking very greatly about about Jesus. But one thing that Muhammad, he disagrees with the Gospels about, because the Gospels obviously point out multiple times Jesus is the Son of God. And not even just throughout the New Testament, it says that Jesus is the Son of God. There are points in the Old Testament where it says, oh my gosh, hold on a minute, I gotta take my phone. Yeah, sorry, that was my cousin. Oh my gosh, I keep writing to me, sending me snaps. Let me put my phone on mute. So, where was I? Yeah, Muhammad had great respect for Jesus and all of these things. But he never, he disagrees with the, I guess, claim that Jesus is the Son of God, that Jesus rose from the dead, that he healed the sick because he was the Son of God. He openly, publicly said and wrote, Jesus is not the Son of God. And the thing is, Muhammad he lived about 500 something years after Christ. He was born in Mecca in I'm just looking at it here, about 570 AD, and then died in about 632 AD. So he lived near he was 30 when he had reached the point where he was alive 600 years after Christ. So he lived 570 years pretty much after Jesus, after his disciples, after the apostles, I guess that's some of them are, disciples, apostles, after the first church, Orthodox Church, had been founded, after the Gospels were written, and all these other books were written, like Romans, Corinthians, or those are letters, right? Yeah. And Revelation and stuff like that. The disciples never met Christ, or never met Muhammad. Jesus probably knows Muhammad, but he never met him in his human form. Muhammad never met the disciples. Muhammad never met Christ, never spoke with Christ, was never with Christ. He only talked about him. And when you talk about someone and you live nearly 600 years after him, after someone, that's like what Donald Trump, someone who lives 600 years after him, speaks about him in some way that we don't even know him right now. All right? Are people going to believe the writings and the I guess, the words of that person to learn about Donald Trump? Or are people gonna try and read the writings, articles about Donald Trump and footage that was taken of Donald Trump now when he's alive? I feel like they're gonna try and push it back to what the eyewitnesses talk about. That's the same thing with the whole thing with Jesus. And a lot of people say, oh, Jesus wasn't real. We have like 5,000 manuscripts, maybe 28,000 manuscripts of Jesus Christ. And people still say he didn't exist. Yet they believe that Julius Caesar existed. Yet we only have like 10 manuscripts about him. And they say that he was historically proven, but Jesus wasn't. Like, come on, man. Yeah, that was going off the topic. Muhammad lived nearly 600 years after Christ, was born nearly 600 years after Christ, and then when he was older, said, he was not God. He was not the Son of God. He didn't perform all these miracles because he had some sort of higher power than just being a man or a prophet. And I'm sorry, but trusting someone with knowledge about someone who lived nearly 600 years before the person they're talking about, or 600 years after the person that they're talking about, you can't trust that person with knowledge about that person. You can't trust Muhammad with learning about Jesus when he never even saw Jesus. He never heard Jesus speak. He never spoke to Jesus. He never felt Jesus. He never lived with Jesus. I would rather try and learn about Jesus by hearing or reading about what the eyewitnesses wrote, which was, he is the Son of God. Now, how can you trust those disciples? How can you trust them? Well, first of all, they lived with Jesus for about 3.5 years or something. Well, that's already trustworthy enough. But you can also see other historians from back then writing about him, and atheist historians today writing. If we know anything about Jesus Christ, he died on the cross under Pontius Pilate. Now, again, Islam says that's not true. Muhammad said that's not true. Didn't die. That's going against actual historical evidence that even some of the best historical scholars or historians, whatever, actively write and say happened. They know for a fact that Jesus died on the cross under Pontius Pilate, exactly as the Gospels say. And how we can trust those disciples is what they were willing to sacrifice for their claims. Which was what, you might ask? Their lives. There's actual writings from back then. Alright, there's historical evidence that says the disciples died claiming And all these other martyrs died for what they claimed to have seen, what they say. They were on trial, these disciples. They said, and these people gave them two options. Either they say that all the stuff that they're preaching about Jesus is wrong, it wasn't true, it was just a lie to get fame, glory, whatever, and we let you go, you'll get money, you'll get women, you'll get power, you'll get all this stuff. Or you could keep preaching this, you could keep claiming that this is the truth, that Jesus died and rose from the dead and promises eternal life for all who believe in him. And if you do that, we will kill you. Painfully. And what did they choose? They chose to die for what they claimed to have seen. So to die for what they saw, for what they say actually happened. Now, when you're willing to lose your life over something, that makes your claim or your claims pretty dang trustworthy. And I have to trust you, because that's a question that, humanity has been trying to answer since the dawn of time. What happens after death? No one 100% knows. So for someone to claim these things, that there is an afterlife and Jesus is the one who pretty much gifts it to us through his death on the cross, dying for our sins, and then also, dying for saying that, for what they say, for what they claim. I'm sorry, but those eyewitnesses are very trustworthy, and you can't say anything against that argument, because they died. It's been proved. They died for what they claimed to have seen, and what they claimed to have seen was Jesus Christ risen from the dead. They even wrote that a spear was jabbed into his side, water separated from clotted blood poured out. Back then, they didn't know what that meant. But now, in medical terms, or in medical language, whatever, slang, that means someone is dead. The person that got stabbed with the spear is dead. Actual doctors can read that and understand. Jesus was dead on that cross, is what they claim. He was dead. And then they died for what they claimed to have seen, which was Jesus risen from the dead. So that makes your claims very trustworthy. Now, I completely got sidetracked right there. And so I'm sorry, but Muhammad, anti-history, what he wrote, never lived with Jesus. And his whole revelation, right, was only seen by him. and there wasn't anyone around in the area. And his revelation, I actually had some verses ready to explain. I completely forgot. The Bible even talks about something like this happening, and like you getting a revelation like that and it not being from God. Um, and it's from two different sets of verses that I found this connection, and it's perfect. These two Bible verses match perfectly with exactly what happened to Muhammad, in explaining what happened to him and what it is. Um, so the verses are first or Galatians chapter 1, verse 6, and then the next verse, the next part of, well, yeah, the sentence. Next verse is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. And it goes like this. Here comes Galatians chapter 1, verse 6. I'm shocked that you are turning away so soon from God, who called you to himself through the loving mercy of Christ. You are following a different way that pretends to be the good news. And here comes 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. But I am not surprised. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, which is what Muhammad claimed to have seen. So I'll read it again without naming the verses or what chapters they're in or what books. I am shocked that you are turning away so soon from God, who called you to himself through the loving mercy of Christ. You are following a different way that pretends to be the good news. But I am not surprised. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. And yeah, that's and when I found that, I was like, that explains the whole mystery with Islam. And even right after the verse Galatians chapter 1, verse 6, there's another verse which pretty much explains all of why Muhammad is preaching anti-historical stuff. It's Galatians chapter 1, verse 7. But it is not the good news at all. You are being fooled by those who deliberately twist the truth concerning Christ. So the whole truth around Christ, the historical evidence and historical truth concerning Christ, being twisted by Muhammad because of what he preached and because of the way he wrote about Jesus not being crucified under Pontius Pilate, which just wasn't true. Like, we even know that today, and a lot of atheists who don't even historical scholars or historians can prove that Jesus died under Pontius Pilate on the cross. They don't believe that he was the Son of God, that he had some sort of godly presence or power, but they do believe he was a man. and that he died on the cross under Pontius Pilate. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate. So Muhammad is twisting the truth concerning Christ, the historical truth. Can I trust that? Can I trust Muhammad now when I even see that connection in a book concerning him, or not concerning Christ, And then the book literally explains perfectly that there are people who twist the truth concerning Christ. That's exactly what Muhammad is doing, saying Jesus was this, Jesus was that, very good things about Christ, but then slowly branching off to saying, oh, but he wasn't the Son of God. Oh, he didn't die on the cross. He did, which historians can literally prove. That he did. So can I trust Muhammad? No, I can't. That's the ultimate conclusion. That's my conclusion. I cannot trust Muhammad. Because he's not only saying something that the eyewitnesses claim and also died for their claims. They claim that he rose from the dead, that he was crucified, that he was the Son of God, that he healed the sick, that he had a godly presence and godly abilities and powers. He was supernatural, right? They even wrote about, I think it was 2 disciples, I can't remember which ones, but they even wrote about how he took them, these 2 disciples, they wrote about how he took them up to a mountain top, something, and then Jesus became this new form, had like a godly spiritual form, and then Moses in also spiritual form, and what was it, Ezekiel or Elijah or something? I don't know, who also had the spiritual form. And they were like talking. And they describe it as light is so bright that, so literally, and by claiming that they saw that happen, they're literally claiming Jesus was something more than human. But yet he also died on the cross, saying that it was God, some sort of higher spiritual being, in a human body, putting himself in a human body. That is when the eyewitnesses write that, and then Muhammad says, no, that didn't happen, I can't trust Muhammad just from that, but also because he literally actively denies the historical truth that Jesus died on the cross. He says that didn't happen. Can I trust that? Especially when he never saw Jesus. No, I can't. So my conclusion is Muhammad is not trustworthy, especially when he talks about the truth concerning Christ. He says that the truth is Jesus didn't die on the cross and that he ascended into heaven, which I do believe, but he says that, or he pretty much claims that God wouldn't let such a good prophet die, is what the Muslims believe, and so God took him into heaven, put him into heaven, like made him ascend. without dying on the cross, yet never having seen, heard, or spoken to Jesus, never felt Jesus, nothing. And yet still writing and making all these claims about Jesus. I can't trust that. And also, when the Bible, which is about 600 years older than him, or the Gospels, 600 older than him, these letters, the letters to Corinth, write this. Or no, it was Galatians. But it is not the good news at all. You are being fooled by those who deliberately twist the truth concerning Christ. That's not only impressive, shocking, and I don't know, making it more trustworthy that maybe this book or these books are in some way or form all-knowing, like it maybe comes from a higher being, these words, because they were written by men who were inspired by God. Yeah, I know that was a bit messy. This is my first video ever. I had to talk about this. I have some homework that I was supposed to do, but I couldn't stop. I've also had some problems with my faith. I just felt the urge to talk about this. I don't know what's gonna come of this. Probably gonna have like 2 views or something. But yeah, that was all I had to say. I'm not gonna edit this. This is all raw footage. Also because I'm not the best at editing. So yeah. See ya.